It's Monday.
Yay. I
How you doing?
have a pen on my desk, and I don't remember putting this here because I don't do a lot of scribing on this desk or any.
Right. It's not a good surface to put a piece of paper down and write on.
No. Considering there's like railroad tracks and
Unless you're interested in poking holes through the paper.
yeah. So I'm guessing my daughter was in here, which is more alarming than anything else, I guess. But whatever. Here we are. It is Monday, and
It's like a channel you don't even know about. She's like testing toys and stuff.
is she making money? Because that would be great.
Yep.
Oh, bad. Sony announced this morning, or said this morning, that if you want a PlayStation, and you don't really want to try to have to buy one like vigorously at 3 a.m. when the shelves get restocked, you might be waiting until like end of 2022. Like it's a pretty
Yeah. Which, it's kind of amazing because they've sold like a record number of these things somehow. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So if you're looking to buy one of those, maybe buy something else.
That's in my queue. I've gotten off this kind of a slow start this morning.
I mean, the good thing is if you don't want to buy a PlayStation 5, you can just go buy a high-end GPU and a high-end CPU and just get a better gaming account.
Well, you can just get an Xbox Series X. What can you buy? You know what you could buy is a hula hoop, maybe
a cup and ball.
Yeah,
Do the whole
yeah, right, a slingshot of some kind. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
it's a pretty big deal. The interesting thing that pops into my head when Sony comes out and says that, so clearly they've got some IP lined up that's probably was never developed for the PlayStation 4. I would imagine that will only run on the PlayStation 5, assuming that they would probably have readily available consoles in probably 2022-ish, something like that.
Of course.
You got to think that really kind of hits the bottom line in more than ways than just selling consoles, because now they're going to have less like endpoints to sell to.
So I wonder, that's an interesting point. I wonder if this kind of problem, which, is a problem on the Xbox side as well, will impact the creation of next generation games, because it's a chicken and egg problem, right? I mean, it behooves developers to create games that run on previous gen as well as new gen, for the next few years anyway. But yes, I mean, in both cases, you have these kind of marquee titles that are only going to run on the latest gen, but there's only like 37 people. Well, I guess there are millions of people that have these things, but far more would have them, right? If they could sell as many as people want.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, like this is impacting a lot of things. It's impacting locally here. I guess I probably shouldn't say too much about it, but like literal jet engines.
Yeah, it's impacting cars. I mean,
impacts
there's
everything.
all kinds of. It's hitting everywhere. This is semi-unrelated, by the way, but I guess we'll chalk it up to the same kind of pandemic type issue or whatever. I'm aware of this anyway, and I became way more aware of it driving. There is I guess I'll call it an employee shortage. In our country, at least, and maybe worldwide as well. And I don't, it's kind of a weird deal because the people are there, but the types of industries that are hardest hit are those that I'll call in terms of dealing with the public, like the front line, or what does Microsoft call them? First line employees.
Yeah.
And these are people who deal with the public, right? And so this is hospitality type markets, obviously restaurants, but hotels as well and things like that. And I don't know if like where I live, it's kind of a nexus of train and truck traffic. And as the farms in Pennsylvania disappear, they're being replaced by like Amazon warehouses, basically. And what a great future that is for the state. But every truck that's out on the road has an advertisement for working for that company, every truck. And on the highway itself, there were billboards everywhere. This is the best place to work, guarantee X amount of dollars per year, great, working conditions, signing bonuses, But going out in the world like we did this past weekend, multiple instances of restaurants. Every restaurant is hiring. Many restaurants are offering signing bonuses. They're desperate to get employees. We experienced, I think, 3 times in one day, walk up to like a Burger King in one case, a Dunkin' Donuts in one case, whatever the other one was. And you walk up right up to the door. It's locked. And there's like a tiny sign too. It's never like out on the street, right? Lobby is closed. they don't have enough employees. And so there's a huge line at the drive-through, of course. And yeah, I know, first world problem. I'm not complaining, like, from my perspective. I'm just saying, like, I think part of the problem here is these businesses don't pay enough, and it's really risky because you're dealing with the public, especially today when there's some weird combination of, like, people have been vaccinated and people who have not been vaccinated because they refuse to be, or just whatever, they're not doing it for some reason. But and it's really risky, you know. I mean, it's like the type of risk, like health risk, you would expect of like a fireman or a policeman or you know, that type of EMT or whatever. These people are making like minimum wage, and so people are saying, like, no, I'm not going to take that job. And the restaurant we go to here locally is always closed on Monday. That's very typical for my area. I don't know if that's common around the country or whatever, but for some reason here, a lot of places just happen to be closed on Monday. I guess it's like the slowest day. The restaurant we go to, well, every week, they're closed now on Tuesday. You know, like, that's the next slowest day. Like, we just can't, we don't have enough employees, you know? And I don't know. It's weird. I don't think anyone foresaw any of this stuff. Like the stuff we were talking about earlier with the chips and everything. Obviously unless, I mean, I'm sure there's always one person that, you know, out there who was like, I called it, you know, the Richard Clark guy or whatever, but someone must have seen this coming. But I feel like this just, like, we're like, oh my God, we're out of the pandemic, this is going to be great. And it's like, oh, hold on a second. You know, like, I don't know how to explain this. It's a weird,
there's a lot of weird shortages. Most people know about wood. Like, wood prices are insane.
Yes, that too. That's right.
Like 4x. We were going to do some, like, just, it's called, like, I think batten board, like, in our dining room area, and I was going to go do it. And I priced it out about a year ago, and then because of the pandemic, we did it. It was like $75 in lumber. I priced it out again. It was close to like $400.
Yep. Yeah. And how do you explain that?
Well, there's just a significant lack of wood that's coming in, so the price just got jacked up.
Like, so what's that really, like, what's the net cost? Like, if you go back in the chain, you know, what's the trigger that causes this? Is it literally there are no people cutting the wood or doing whatever they do to turn trees?
Well, there was a bunch of it too. Remember, the borders were shut. A lot of lumber comes from Canada, so there was nothing coming across. There was a lot of the trucking industry shifted from. And this is why there's some issues with fuel, is because a lot of them shifted from shipping like fuel to goods, because that's what was in major demand during the pandemic was, you know, you just need to haul goods, not liquids, for example.
I suppose, you know, people who, you know, have been stuck at home for the past year and a half or whatever in the height of the pandemic are like, well, we're not spending money on travel, and we're not going out to eat, and we're not doing whatever we normally spend our disposable income on. Why don't we do some of these things around the house we've been talking about doing? And, you know, at least we'll raise the value of the home or whatever, and it will be nicer. We're here anyway. We might as well make it nicer. And maybe they sopped up the supply. You know, I'm sure maybe that's part of it too, I guess.
The other thing that's really hard to get, I didn't know this. My neighbor, like husband and wife, like one's like an architect or like building manager, the other one's in construction, drywall mud is becoming significantly harder to get, because apparently, I guess, a lot of latex comes out of Texas, and when they had that big freeze, it shuts stuff down. And it's not like you can't just turn a plant off and then turn it back on. Like, it's like a month-long process to get everything back up and running. So getting drywall mud is even significantly harder. So there's a lot of backup. It's not just the chips.
It's crazy. Yeah, I guess my thing with this is just, I feel like we should have kind of anticipated this, but it's very clear. Well, it seems to me like we didn't. Like, it to me, this seems like a surprise, all this stuff. It's like, wait, what? You know, like this summer, I'm sure the price of gas is going to go through the roof, and, you know, there's going to be all this stuff that happens. I mean,
well, yeah, you've got a lot of, it's why the housing market is completely screwed. Like, it's like houses go on the market and they're sold multiple bids in days, not because people were pent up demand. I mean, nobody moved for a year.
Let me. I'm going to throw some numbers by you, because we literally this just occurred. This just happened to us the other day. We knew coming when we moved here, we were not going to stay here for forever. Like, we knew this. And by the way, I mean, 4 years ago when we moved here, this house was already too big for us. Now that both kids are in college, I mean, actually Kelly just came home for the summer, but I mean, we have 3 bedrooms upstairs that aren't used by anybody. Like, they're just rooms, you know. And so there's a house down the street that I would say it's about, I thought it was the same size as our house. It's actually they have an extra bedroom upstairs, so it's kind of like one size bigger, I guess. I would have said that that house might be worth like 450,000, right? And they just put it on the market for 525. So we talked to a realtor we know in the area, and we said, hey, what do you think is going to happen over there? And she said, oh, they're going to get more than that. There are so many, there's so few houses for sale, and there's such demand that they're going to make more than that. That's, people are going to bid over the amount. And now we're like, huh. Because
Go on.
Well, we have, when we moved from Boston, we made an astronomical amount of money on that house because of this kind of thing. Like it was exactly the same. Like our neighbors sold their house. They put it on the market for, that house I would have thought at the time was worth 500 grand. They put it on the market for 630 and they sold it for 630. And we were like, well, maybe they just put it on the market for 6 and sold it for 630, whatever it was. And we were like, holy crap. Like, so now we were thinking like, there's no way we're going to make money on this house. Really. Like if we broke even after leaving here, we'd be happy. But now we're thinking like, actually, if we could sell this house right now, which we could. So we had her come and look at it. And she's like, we have these issues we have to kind of deal with. Like we have a window casement that needs to be replaced, and the sewer issue we've had, which, is something we've been using like septic safe toilet paper, which is like always being in an airline bathroom. But, she was like, yeah, you don't have to do any of that. You could sell this thing immediately. We're like, huh. Problem, of course, is
where do you go?
Yeah, where do you go? And we don't, it's not like we have some plans. It's not like we've been secretly planning.
Well, I joked with my wife, was like, how do you feel about living in a shipping container for about 18 months? Like,
yeah, well, we were just in Charlotte, picking up my daughter, and I was like looking at like some apartment thing, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, you could get a 3-bedroom apartment here for $2,000 a month. What do you think?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that's another pandemic related thing. Like this is an area of the country where I don't think real estate prices would ever have skyrocketed, but because it's, 2 hours from New York, 1 hour from Philly, 1 hour from Newark, you could work for a company that is based in one of those places and maybe only go in once a week or once a month or whatever it is. And all of a sudden that makes tons of sense, and, yeah, I wish we were ready, but we're not. So it's kind of it's an interesting problem, but also I think tied to the same thing we were just talking about, these weird effects of this pandemic. There's all the obvious stuff,
right?
Death, sickness, social distancing and so forth, but businesses that went out of business, right? Which is horrible. All that stuff is horrible. But this is long tail stuff. I just never, despite the fact that I just had a year with nothing to do and lots of time to think, it never occurred to me that all this stuff was going to happen,
Thing is you're not alone. Well, and like, what would you do? Like, what are you going to go like buy a whole bunch of drywall mud and put it in your garage, then sell it?
Yeah. I'm my, what do you call Drywall Mud Futures?
Yeah.
It's my, I have a stockpile of it. Unfortunately it all hardened and now it's just cement. So, yeah, I don't know. What would I have done? Nothing, I guess. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Wrong button.
There you go.
Drywall
another
Futures.
week.
That's the future.